Welcome once again to our studies in the book of Judges. In today's short study, I would like to introduce you to the main section of the book, to chapters 3 verse 7 through to chapter 16 verse 31. In this section, the cycle of sin, judgment, deliverance and blessing introduced in chapter 2 is illustrated by a series of examples. A number of champions or judges are introduced. 6 are very briefly mentioned: Shamgar, Tolar, Jair, Ibzan, Elon and Abdon. But 7 of them have their activities described in far greater detail. The story is clearly designed to provide a somewhat repetitive and frankly depressing story, and we should not fail to notice this. Judges was written to emphasize the fact that God's people seldom or but slowly learn the folly of deserting him. And repetition only goes to show how slowly we too sometimes learn, but at the same time emphasizes how vital is the lesson. While the previous observations suggest the nature of the basic framework for the central chapters of the book of Judges, it is important that we do not miss the distinctive features in each of the stories. And thus, as we proceed, we shall concentrate upon the distinctive lessons of each episode in the story. But though we shall do this, we must not forget the overall message of this central section of the book. Now, chapter 3 verse 7 to chapter 5 verse 31 is the first part of this large central section. And if the chronology which I prefer is adopted, these chapters cover a period of about 200 years, from 1435 BC to 1229 BC. So the story begins shortly after the death of Joshua, who died about 1442, and proceeds to recount 3 separate periods of oppression and deliverance. These are, first of all, the subjection of the Israelites to someone called Chusan Rishathaim. And we're told that from his attack, the Israelites were rescued by Othniel in chapters 3 verse 7 to 11. Secondly, the Moabite and Philistine incursions into the land are described, against which first Ehud in chapter 3 verses 12 to 30 and then Shamgar in chapter 3 verse 31 rebelled. Finally, we read about the oppression by Jabin, king of Hatzor, from whom the Israelites were delivered by Deborah and Barak, as described in chapters 4 and 5. And with this background, we can now proceed into the main bulk of this quite remarkable book.